Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Hi, Tony. Can we do a mic check, please?
Morning, Dave. Were you able to hear me?
Barely. You're really faint.
How is this?
That's much better. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is the clerk with a courtesy announcement that the meeting is now live on the internet.
Hi, Natalie. Can we do a mic check, please? Morning, Supervisor Wasserman. Good morning, Supervisor.
Good morning, David.
We can see you. We can hear you. Peggy will be your clerk this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for getting us started.
You're welcome. Have a good meeting. Hi, Joe. Can we do a mic check, please?
This is Joe.
Hi, we can hear you. Thanks.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do I have supervisors?
Recording in progress.
Good morning, Chairperson Wasserman. We do not yet have Supervisor Simidian.
All right, Peggy. Thank you very much. As soon as we do, we will kick off this meeting. And there he is. Peggy, let's start this December 9th year ending awesome final meeting of 2021 of the Housing, Land Use, Environment, and Transportation Committee with Supervisors Wasserman and Simidian serving the public. Roll call, please.
Good morning, Vice Chairperson Simidian.
Present.
And Chairperson Wasserman.
Present as well. Thank you very much. And yes, I did break into a bag of M&Ms before I started this meeting. All right, I don't see anybody from the public wishing to speak. Do you agree, Peggy?
That is correct.
No public comment. We then move on to item number 3, which is the consent calendar, which currently contains items 8 through 15. Supervisor Simidian, any additions, subtractions, or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I'd like to do is move approval of the consent calendar and our published agenda with 2 exceptions. I would like to add item number 4 to the consent calendar, and I would like to remove item number 9 about legislative policies from the consent calendar. Thank you.
All righty, so we have items 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 on consent, and 9 has been added to the regular agenda, which will follow item 7. Peggy, does all that work for you?
Yes,
Wonderful. He made a motion. I will happy to second it. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairperson Simidian,
Aye, but I want to make sure we don't skip the public if there are any members of the public.
There are no members of the public wishing to speak.
Then I'm happy to be an aye vote on my own motion. Thank you.
You got it.
and Chairperson Wasserman.
I'm an aye as well on my second. Thank you very much. With that, we move on to item number 5, to receive a report from the Office of Supportive Housing relating to experience gained from COVID-19 pandemic response to support individuals and families experiencing homelessness. And that was a mouthful. And I'm assuming Consuelo. I see Catherine.
Good morning, Supervisor. Yeah, I'll be providing the report this morning.
Wonderful.
Thank you for your time this morning. I just want to take a minute to highlight how our coordination efforts in throughout the COVID response and our recovery efforts will continue to improve our homelessness and housing efforts as we move forward. And as I mentioned, or as we mentioned in the report, the foundation of our response has really been coordination between the Joint Departmental Operations Center, the Office of Supportive Housing, Valley Homeless Healthcare Program, the Public Health Department, and the City of San Jose. And I think in every effort that we talk about in the report, each of those partners has played a critical role. And we've worked really hard to make sure we're being complementary and not duplicating efforts. And one of the examples that I'd like to share today is in our vaccination efforts for the unhoused population. So as soon as vaccines were available last winter, VHHP began going out to shelters, encampments, our hotels, vaccinating as many people as possible. We also at the Office of Supportive Housing contracted with 3 community-based organizations to deploy over 24 outreach workers, many of whom had lived experience of homelessness, to do peer-to-peer education and provide assistance making appointments, provide transportation to those appointments, as well as incentives for folks willing to get vaccinations. Simultaneously, the City of San Jose and Public Health partnered to hold vaccination events and paired those with other services to make sure we were reaching as many people as possible. And then again, this fall, as soon as boosters were available, VHHP again went out to shelters, encampments, our hotels to make sure folks were, the boosters were available to our entire unhoused population. And those outreach teams began educating folks on the importance of boosters. So this is one example of how this collaborative effort showed what we can do when all hands are on deck. Each partner played a critical but different and complementary role. We, I think, can replicate this effort not only in future public health emergencies, but also in the work that we're doing to address the homelessness crisis in general. Lastly, I just want to take the opportunity to highlight the fact in this response, we've had hundreds of disaster service workers deployed to support our unhoused population. And we're, just want to thank all the disaster service workers that have been deployed and their home departments. I think their work, one of the unforeseen benefits of that deployment is the experience gained in working with our unhoused population that they'll take back to their home departments, better understanding of the needs of the community, of the resources and services available, of how our homelessness system works. And I would like to just share a testimonial from one of our disaster service workers from SSA. And she shared, I'm currently a disaster service worker for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. First of all, when I was selected to be a DSW, I was scared, not knowing what I was going to do. After working for a few days, I got to know the process, and the support of my assigned supervisor and management was a great help. I was impacted by helping the community with rental assistance because all clients were very grateful and blessed me every day for my assistance. Being a DSW really impacted my personality by helping and treating the community with respect and not judging anyone. My experience with rental assistance program will always be in my heart and provide great customer service to my community in my home department, knowing that they really need help out there in this difficult time during the pandemic. So we hope that this experience improves the safety net as a whole, because so many of these folks have been supporting this effort, and every one of the DSWs has made tremendous sacrifices to be a part of this. So with that, I just want to thank you for letting me take a moment to share that with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the report.
Thank you. And I want to say DDKK, thank you for your presentation. That stood for Deputy Director Catherine Kaminsky. I want to thank you for your presentation. I want to thank you for all your leadership in Consuelo and all the individuals and organizations you worked with during this COVID ever-changing crisis, and assisting so many in need despite these first ever complications and issues that you faced head on. And I'm very, very proud and thankful for you and your entire department. Supervisor Simidian.
Thanks. I very much appreciate the report. I have some questions, and Ms. Kaminsky, I want to try and sort of bring it down to the sort of very specific and tangible level, and asking you. So we had to do all these things differently because of COVID, and it forced us to up our game in some respects. And so what I'm really hoping we can drill down on is, are there 2 or 3 strategies, approaches to getting folks housed that we employed during the pandemic, that you say, you know what, we didn't used to do that, but now we had to, and now that we had to, we should keep doing it. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at here? It's like, we know we never had enough shelter for people who needed it prior to the pandemic, and yet the pandemic landed on us and we had to find even more shelter. So what did we learn from doing that we should keep doing? And I see Ms. Hernandez has popped up on the screen as well. So any or all who would like to respond, that's what I'm trying to get in the way of a takeaway if we can.
Please. Consuelo, Catherine?
I will start, and Consuelo, please add in. I think, so a couple of things come to mind. One takeaway is, prior to the pandemic, our temporary housing system was very difficult to navigate. People had to call separate shelters or show up at different shelters to understand what was available. Because of we immediately stood up this centralized shelter hotline, because we knew that was going to be even more challenging during the pandemic. So now there's one number to call. We have decided to make this a permanent part of our system, because it was also a need that was shared with us by folks with lived experience, even prior to the pandemic, that it was difficult to navigate this system. That centralization allows us to, one, it's easier for people who are experiencing homelessness to know what's available. It's also increased our utilization of shelters, because we are working with every shelter every day to understand what's available, how can we refer people as quickly as possible. And in that, shelter is often the first access to our housing system. So if more people have easier access to shelter, they're also getting assessed for housing and getting connected to housing programs. So that's one example. I think in our efforts a second example would be in our efforts to rehouse folks in our hotels. we have permanently housed close to 300 folks that were served in our hotels. And that effort was build on the knowledge that we had of our how to work with people to get permanent housing prior to the pandemic, but sort of a very focused, intentional effort on a specific population. So we stood up a quick rapid rehousing program. We had case managers working with people at the sites where they were. And I think that response could be replicated across other shelters and other outreach efforts as well.
Thank you. Consuelo, anything to add to Supervisor's question, or is that good?
Maybe just one other thing to add, and Catherine, I think you were going to talk about this a little bit too, but changing our shelter operations to 24/7 so that people don't have to exit during the day. I think that has been one of the kind of lessons learned, and the utilization goes up. There's, you know, a better opportunity for people to get into permanent housing, if you will. So a lot of the lessons learned are on that front, but also I would say the one other big takeaway has been the way we engage with the community. There's a lot of discussion about community engagement, but for us, it's really meant going to the community and talking to them about our programs and building a relationship. Supervisor Wasserman, or Chairperson Wasserman specifically, a lot of work in your district and Supervisor Simitian in yours with Mountain View and Gilroy being a focus of our work. And it yielded a meeting with Carry the Vision in Gilroy on a rainy Sunday, where we were not expecting people to show up because it was raining, and we had over 200 households come. And we had additional people the next day reaching out like, I missed it. Can you still help me? And they called our office directly. And so I think that's the other lesson learned, is to go out to the community. And now they know who we are. And Supervisor Simitian, very similar in Mountain View. So I think for us, that's a big takeaway in how we build relationships directly with the community.
Supervisor Simitian.
That's it. Thank you. Those are four very specific, tangible changes, differences, learned behaviors that I think I was hoping to get clarity on. So thank you for that. I will, I guess, just drill down a little bit more on Ms. Kaminsky's comment about hotels, motels, and whether it's Ms. Hernandez or Ms. Kaminsky. I gather that some of that conversation will end up being folded into the response to Supervisor Lee's most recent referral, yes?
That is correct.
Good. That was my understanding, my hope, my expectation, but I think that's, I think given the nature and extent of the challenge we've got, it's unfortunate that sometimes we get into these, no, this is a better approach, no, that's a better approach, debates or even arguments, when from my vantage point, it seems to me like we should be saying all of the above, in part because we need to sort of cobble together every resource we can, but also because, as you know better than anyone, every client's needs are a little bit different, their circumstances are a little bit different, and you know, the 24/7 example that you shared with us, Ms. Hernandez, is one where for some clients that's not a big deal, but I know for many it has been huge. So that's a big breakthrough. May not sound like that much to folks who are unfamiliar with the system, but I know for a lot of folks it's sort of key to whether or not they will or won't step into our program. So thank you for all that. Thank you for the work you do, and I've got what I need, Mr. Chair. And if you need a motion to approve the recommended action, I'm happy to do that.
No, sir, we don't need a motion. We don't have any members from the public. And Consuelo and Catherine, just so we're clear, because I echo Supervisor Simitian's inquiry and conclusion, the four things that you mentioned, ideas that you came up with during this crisis, you intend to continue those as standard operating procedures going forward, correct? The 24/7 hours, the outreach.
Yes, Chairperson Wasserman, the outreach, the 24/7, where it's permitted. In some instances, it's not permitted.
Sure.
And the hotline.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Supervisor Committee, and thank you for bringing that. It's good to, you learn things during a crisis, and then several of those things you continue on. Makes our system better. Thank you both very much. Supervisor, item number 6 now is to receive a report from the Department of Planning and Development relating to zoning ordinance amendments necessary to implement SB 9, effective January 1st. And I'm going to guess Jacqueline, and there she is. Good morning, Jacqueline Onciano.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairperson Wasserman and Supervisor Simidian. If I may share my screen, I have a brief presentation.
Wonderful.
And can you see that?
No, ma'am.
You cannot yet.
Yes, ma'am.
You can see it. Okay.
That little square is small.
Okay.
On my screen right now, it's only about 3 by 4. It's about a fourth. Can you make that box bigger?
I'm going to try. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go out and come back in. Still it's small?
Yes, it is.
Uh,
It's small on my screen. It's got to be smaller on a smaller screen.
Jack, do you think that Barat can, he can't?
Mm.
Okay. Just because it happens, I believe this relates to the screen size you have, the display,
Oh.
your monitor.
Okay, let me switch it over if you'll allow me. Just give me a minute. Let me see if I can switch it over to.
Sure. And I don't see the PowerPoint
No,
binder. I don't think, did we get this previously?
no, you didn't.
Okay.
Let me see.
For me, whenever you can shoot out a PowerPoint previously and we can read it ahead of time, that's helpful. Supervisor Simidian, I assume it's relatively small on your screen as well?
Yes, the only way I could possibly read it would be if I put my nose right up to the screen, which would give you a really unattractive view of.
Okay,
This is the clerk. We do not have the presentation, but if somebody emails it to me, I could screen share.
I'll send it to you right now, Peggy.
I was using a bottle of Arrowhead to see if I could magnify it.
No, I'll send it to Peggy right now.
All right. Thanks, Peggy.
Thank you, Peggy.
You are welcome. Hasn't arrived yet.
Okay, give me just a minute.
Peggy Doyle has a lot more talents than people realize.
And I am still waiting for it.
There it is. It's coming from me. It came from me. So you should have it in a moment. It should pop up.
And did you send it to my inbox or to the Hewlett inbox? And there it is. 1 second, I have it here.
Okay.
And 1 second here.
There we go.
And slideshow from the beginning.
Nice
Okay.
job.
Can you make it presentation mode? That'd be great. It will take my notes
It
out of it.
should be, nope, hold on one second.
Perfect. That's
work?
presentation mode.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you, Peggy. Good morning, Jacqueline Anshano, Director of Planning and Development. I'm gonna go back on my screen. Great. The item before you, item number 6 is an overview of Senate Bill 9 and zoning ordinance amendments that the department is considering to ensure that the county is in compliance with the state requirements. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Great,
There we
thanks.
go.
Yeah, so Senate Bill 9 is one of about 36 new bills that were amended and introduced to address the California housing crisis. SB 9 addresses density, objective site development standards, and ministerial approvals. SB 9 is the most significant, one of the most significant housing bills that will impact the unincorporated county of Santa Clara. And where it will impact the county is in our single-family residential zoning classifications. Those classifications are R1, R1E, RHS, and I'll define for you what these are, R1S, and rural residential. There's 2 areas that will be impacted. The urban 2-unit development, which are qualifying parcels in an urban single-family residential zone, can be ministerially developed with 2 primary units, plus 1 ADU and 1 junior ADU. In the areas, oh, did you want me to pause, Supervisor?
No,
Yeah.
no, I just said wow out loud. I didn't realize it went out loud.
In the areas where there are allowed urban lot splits, or what we call subdivisions, there will only be 2 units per lot approved, no ADUs or JADUs where they have subdivided properties. Next slide, please. Oh, you can go to the next slide. Thanks. So speaking of what urban areas covers, there's about 15, of course, we have 15 incorporated cities and towns. And then in the unincorporated areas, this includes urban islands, San Martin, Stanford, Moffett Field, and areas like Redwood Estates along CA 17. You can keep, we animated it. Great. So the applicability, want to speak to this, SB 9 has additional requirements for qualifying parcels in qualifying areas. The parcel must be located within, number 1, a single family residential zoning classification. The parcels shall not be historic. Parcels shall not be located within areas of significant prime farmland, farmland of statewide importance, wetlands, lands identified for conservation, or very high fire hazard severity zones, delineated earthquake fault zones, special flood hazard zone areas, regulatory floodways, and hazard waste sites. So these are the areas where SB 9 would not be applicable. Next slide, please. This map delineates area that are potentially subject to SB 9. And I know it's a large map and we're studying by parcel so that we can clearly identify areas, also looking at if there are infrastructure challenges where SB 9 would not be able to accommodate additional density. This map, if you would go to the next slide, please. Yeah, this map, no, the one before. Yes, thank you. This map shows us the little pockets in this orange of the unincorporated Santa Clara County, where SB 9 would apply. Next slide. So SB 9 requirements for qualifying parcels across the state is that the parcel shall have on-site wastewater treatment systems, or they have to demonstrate that they have adequate percolation capacity to sustain additional residential development. So we look at the infrastructure to make sure that the area or the parcel that is trying to apply SB 9 would have the proper infrastructure to support that density increase. The proposal cannot result in demolition of affordable housing, under rent or price control housing that has been occupied by a renter in the past 3 years. Applicants proposing an urban lot split shall reside on the property for no less than 3 years. And then parcels which were created using provisions cannot use the lot split to enact further lot subdivisions. So if they subdivide once, they can't just keep subdividing. Next slide, please. Great. So development standards. We are looking and considering, the County Planning and Development Department, we are considering development standards. And so these objective standards, and they're called objective development standards, could be similar to those adopted by the board for accessory dwelling units. In looking at objective development standards, we cannot impose development standards that will restrict density development. By that statement, I mean the applicability of SB 9, we can't impose development standards that would restrict the ability for someone to build, either subdivide and get two homes, or have 4 units if they have a lot and they would like to do 2 houses and then the ADU and the JADU. So we're looking at this very carefully, and we're working with county council so that we can make sure that as a county, we stay in compliance with the intent of SB 9, and we don't do anything that would compromise our ability to work with HCD. So just a brief overview, and I'm going to do this really carefully. So if you have questions, we can come back to this slide. So Senate Bill 9, it's one of 8 new laws that we introduced that have impacted the county of Santa Clara. So again, I just want to say, where we have an urban 2-unit development, qualifying parcels in urban single-family residential zones can ministerially develop 2 primary units plus 1 ADU and a JADU. Those are for qualifying parcels. When someone comes in and they want to subdivide, they would not be able to add the ADUs, the ADU or the JADU, to those subdivided lots. They could only get 2 units per lot, okay? Next slide, please. Oh, go to the next slide. Oh, no, that was it. I'm sorry, go back. So our proposed zoning amendments, just want to give an idea, would allow the objective development standards. SB 9 will go into effect January 1st of 2022. And staff was recommending adopting the amendments to the county zoning ordinance to address the following. And again, I'm presenting this to Hewlett because we're still working through some of the particulars, but wanted to give Hewlett an idea of what we're working towards. SB 9 applies to single-family residential zoning districts. We're setting objective development standards so that SB 9 projects conform to existing neighborhood standards. And this is what we're considering. And we're clarifying that at most 2 units are allowed on parcels after a quote urban lot split, or what we're calling a subdivision, a 2-lot subdivision under SB 9. Next slide. So this is our proposal as far as timing, because we need to do outreach to the public, and we're going to begin off remote outreach. And some people, we think we're going to need in-person outreach because it helps sometimes for people to see visually what we're talking about when we talk about the urban development or urban lot split. So we've classified timing the first quarter beginning January. We're actually starting in December, but December we're already in. And so we know we're going to have limited opportunity to reach the public because of the holiday. So right beginning January, we're going to do online outreach. And then we're going to the first meeting in San Martin. We have been receiving inquiries about SB 9 and how it applies. And then we'll go to the Planning Commission, and we're going to try to get to the board within the first quarter of February or March. So this concludes staff's presentation, and both I and Bharat are available for questions if you have any questions.
Jack and Bharat, thank you very much. Supervisor Simitian. And just FYI, we don't have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item or the prior one.
Thank you. I have some questions and requests, and I'm happy to incorporate the requests into a formal motion as direction if that's helpful or appropriate along the way, Mr. Wasserman.
Yes.
First, let me just say, I think the outreach process is going to require perhaps more than is currently anticipated or proposed. And I don't know, what that entails in terms of resources. If there are supplemental resources that are necessary, so be it. But I'm just going to give you two examples, and I'm going to make a very specific request for outreach efforts there, including a report back in writing to our board, or to our committee rather. The first is San Antonio Hills, which is in District 5, is an unincorporated area that is suburban, but I wouldn't go so far even to describe it as semi-rural, but large lots. San Antonio Hills in the area of Los Altos Hills, probably more than unincorporated, probably more than 1,000 households, parcels there. And they are typically larger lots, and they're going to be ripe for these kinds of splits. And Ms. Anshano, forgive the ancient history here, but in my entire career as an elected official, only once did I ever ask for a building moratorium, and it was in the 90s in San Antonio Hills, because we had a problem with lot splits, and the community was up in arms over the fact that large lots with underlying lot lines, a different vehicle, were being subdivided, turned into 2-3 lots, which was lawful under state law. And we ended up with a 90-day moratorium at my request, and then a new set of design criteria, which I believe are still largely in effect today. But given the characteristic of those lots, I think they may be candidates for redevelopment pursuant to SB 9, and given the number of them, 1,000 or so, I think you need to have we need to have some outreach in San Antonio Hills very specifically.
Okay.
So I'm making that as a formal request / direction through the chair. The second thing is, I know you've been dealing a lot with Stanford folks lately in terms of single family residences there, but there's I think unique, certainly unusual set of circumstances there, Mr. Chairman, where the university is the landholder, but the various single family home sites are then leased to single family property owners. And that raises a whole set of questions about what is or isn't permitted pursuant to SB 9. So for example, Is it possible that the university could, as the property owner, simply show up and say, we want to exercise SB 9 rights to divide each and every one of those properties? I don't know the answer to that, but I think we ought to know the answer to these kinds of questions and what that process would look like before a situation develops and we're behind the curve. So I'm going to ask that we have some special attention to that unique circumstance, and that we get a written report back to this committee in January or February as time permits. And if county council needs to be involved, I would make that request of them as well. But it's a substantial number of units and it's a unique case. And I think we're going to need some not only outreach there, but analysis, which I'm asking to see back here at the committee. The next thing I would say is, and I saw this in the report, and I appreciated staff highlighting it. Page 5 of 5, packet page 15, talks about the fact that we're in kind of an interesting situation with the timeline because staff is not anticipating that they are going to get this done until, sort of at the end of the first quarter. But the new law takes effect January 1st. And then staff talks about the fact that they're not proposing grandfathering, even though we may have folks who are in the pipeline first week of January, second week of January, who are ready to take advantage of the new opportunities that SB 9 represents. And all I would ask is that staff very deliberately articulate a way for communicating with applicants prior to the adoption of the ordinance, their status as non-grandfathered folks in the pipeline. I would hate for us to be besieged, Mr. Chairman, in April, May, June, and July with people who said, well, wait a minute, when I applied, these were the rules, but now you tell me new set of rules. I understand staff's recommendation, and for the moment, I'm okay with it. But I do think we need to make sure that that process is communicated to each and every applicant. And I don't know whether we're going to have 1 or 100. I honestly don't know. But however many it is, let's just make sure that we don't have people who have one set of expectations based on the rules on January 1st and a different experience when they finally make their way through the process some months later. And I think those are my asks and requests. And if you need a motion to receive the report and provide that direction to staff, I will be happy to offer that motion at this time.
Thank you. Do you wish to reiterate anything, or otherwise we've captured the 3 items that you asked?
I don't think you want to hear me do it again, Mr. Chairman. I'll let it go.
I don't, but it's your choice, of course.
No. So move. Let me try it that way.
I like that. Jacqueline, can you go back to page 5 of your PowerPoint, please, that shows the areas that are eligible or subject to SB 9?
Yes,
Or Peggy, who's ever
Peggy, she put it up. I think I
managing
can
the
see it up.
screen.
That is me. Give me one moment.
Thank you. And Jacqueline, as that comes up, I just want clarification. There doesn't appear to be any member of the public watching this, but just clarification. I've been getting more and more requests about SB 9. If you could please send Supervisor Siminian and I, and frankly, the other 3 supervisors as well, this PowerPoint presentation, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
And yes, that was the map.
Right there. That's 5.
Yes.
I'll go back.
Oh. And if Peggy, if you can make that any bigger, that'd be great. So Jacqueline, as I'm looking at that map, of course, all our amendments and rules and stuff apply only to the unincorporated areas. So I see, for instance, Gilroy with next to none of the orange colored, meaning that they are subject to SB 9. But in reality, all of Gilroy, the incorporated area, would be subject to SB 9, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
As they have applicability. I don't know their specific rules, but yes.
Okay. And I just want people to understand when they see stuff from us that all we're dealing with is the unincorporated areas. And the areas, for instance, in Los Gatos, the area to the left, just above the letter L, that's an area that would be subject to SB9. And you're saying that area does not come under the exception of fire and earthquake. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Describe for me one more time where you are.
Sure. Look at this, the town of Los Gatos.
Okay.
And look above the letter L.
Okay.
And you'll see the, what do we call them? This burnt orange?
Yes, kind of a
The
burnt orange.
Yeah, the burnt orange area that's designated there. That's an area that your department has determined is subject to SB9, correct?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. And
Potentially.
I know there were exceptions on one of your prior slides that talked about earthquake area or fire area.
Yep.
Okay. And that, I mean, the 89 earthquake was just, 5 miles from here. But that area there is very much fire. Those people there have a very tough time getting fire insurance, homeowners insurance. So I would simply ask that when your staff is looking to what areas meet the exceptions, that particular area, as Supervisor Semenian was pointing out a couple of areas in his district, and for the record, this will be his district in 23 days.
Okay.
That area there and south of that, underneath Los Gatos, the word Los Gatos.
I see it.
At the border. That is right smack in the middle of the fault line.
Okay, we'll clarify.
Yeah, that would be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll look into it and clarify.
Okay. That's my only ask, Supervisor Semenian, if that request is okay to add as a friendly amendment to your motion.
Happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've got a motion and I second it.
Chairperson Wasserman, this is Tony Lopresti. Just before we move on, I just wanted to make one clarification on the third point from Supervisor Semenian's request. When it comes to the communication to applicants who are not grandfathered in, would you like that articulation identified in the report back to Hewlett, or is that just direction that when that communication is made, it should be deliberate and clear? I just want to make sure we have clarity on what needs to be in the report.
Thank you. I would ask for both. Yes, I am focused on making sure that applicants are fully informed, but I do think we need to get a report back at the committee as to how that happened, so that staff isn't left wondering whether they did or didn't meet the expectations of the committee. So thank you for the clarification, Mr. Lopresti.
Thank you for that. And Jacqueline, I've got a little bit of a cold, so please excuse my voice here. Obviously, the outreach to San Martin is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
And the response you received back, I think a word such as firestorm might be appropriate from what you might hear. I know Supervisor Semenian has areas in his district where he's got a pretty good idea of how the public's going to react when they hear that their neighbor, when they've moved to an area with larger lots. And then they all of a sudden find out that there's multiple subdivisions or increased density or traffic. It's going to be an interesting year next year, Jacqueline.
Yes, and we're going to be careful. We're looking at the infrastructure. We're mapping the resources and the infrastructure that is available. We're going to work with Health Department, SEPA, so that if there's areas of known restrictions relative to water or percolation, we map those areas, Supervisor, so that we can be as informed as possible when we go to the public.
Super. And as Supervisor Semenian said for his areas, he brought up a couple of interesting questions that you have the answers for prior to holding the meeting.
Yes.
And I think what you just referred to as having answers for regarding wells, percolation, et cetera, before the meeting. I think that's great, Jack.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's move on, Peggy, with a roll call vote.
Vice Chairperson Semenian, You are muted, sir.
Aye.
Thank you. And Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank
Peggy,
you.
thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Tony. All right, item number 7. We're going to hear from Jasmeet Sharma. Consider recommendations from the Office of Sustainability relating to the current extreme drought conditions in Santa Clara County. But we might get a little water by the next 7 days. Take away, Jasmine.
Yes, good morning, Supervisor Wasserman and Supervisor Simidian. I'm Jasmeet Sharma, the Director for the Office of Sustainability. We have a brief presentation on the Drought and Water Conservation Report, which will highlight the current state and local water supply conditions. And it also provides a menu of future water conservation actions for the county operations and unincorporated county for the committee's consideration. We have Nareesh Dugal and Chris Curry also with the Office of Sustainability in attendance today. Chris will make the presentation, and then the 3 of us are available to answer any questions that you might have. So I'll call upon Chris to take over from here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just take a brief moment to share my presentation. Go ahead and let me know when it's.
That's perfect. That's perfect, Chris.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so after 2 years of historically dry and hot conditions, some very fortunate and historically heavy early season rain and snow brought much needed precipitation to California. Northern California saw the biggest improvement, with nearly 20 counties coming out or partially out of the exceptional drought classification, which is the top level on the US Drought Monitor. For some perspective on where we were before those rains, the 2021 water year was the 16th driest in 127 years. And from a temperature perspective, from January 2020 to August 21, the US Southwest experienced the 3rd highest average daily temperature and the lowest total precipitation on record. And those records go back to 1895. NOAA is currently forecasting a La Nina weather pattern, which alters the Pacific jet stream in a way that historically increases the likelihood of drier, warmer winters. So there are recognizable, specific, and clear indicators that even with the rain we have received so far, the drought conditions are likely to last into 2022 and potentially longer. A few important items to remember, even as we see rainfall. 80% of the state still remains in a classification level of extreme drought. All of Santa Clara County continues in extreme drought, with 15 to 20% of the northeast area of the county beyond that into exceptional drought. Locally, the last 2 winters have been the driest since 76, 77, and water levels at major reservoirs remain far below normal, though not as low as in 2016. So observations indicate that, yes, we are currently in a drought, and yes, historically droughts are cyclical. However, the reality of our changing climate dictates the need to continue development of long-term conservation measures that reduce both use and waste, while also ensuring that we harvest, store, and reuse as much water as possible. Proposed solutions fall into the categories of coordination and collaboration, operations, policy, and nature-based solutions. In 2019, the county's Facility and Fleet Department, which manages the majority of county buildings, reduced potable water use by 44% compared to 2009 levels. This achievement is 26% above the water conservation benchmark set in 2015. So these approaches can and do work. But please consider a brief overview of the types of solutions with potential to reduce water use even further. First, in-county operations. Developing, funding, and implementing projects that reduce water use, eliminate water waste, and/or increase water efficiency, such as performing water audits, leak detection, equipment upgrades, and renovations to county landscapes that conserve water and preserve trees. Next, maximizing coordination and collaboration to ensure that redundancy is minimized, awareness of issues and opportunities among stakeholders is increased, and to encourage cross-departmental solutions. It is also important to consider the development of policies that update the way we plan for, build, and use water infrastructure. The final type of conservation solution, and one that stands out for providing a wide range of benefits, is nature-based solutions. These are projects and actions that use the processes of natural ecosystems in a way that resolves issues of water conservation and drought. Examples would be soil health restoration, planting natives for their drought and pest resistance, increasing the water holding capacity of soils, and managing stormwater runoff to keep rainwater on site. As we face a new reality of weather patterns, it's important to acknowledge that in many areas, water infrastructure was built decades ago to manage rainfall patterns that were much less severe and much more predictable. Updating stormwater management infrastructure is one of the most effective ways to minimize the effects of both drought and flood. Stormwater collection and groundwater recharge projects capture and control water during storms, reducing flooding, and then storing water for reuse during drought. Examples include bioswales and passive recharge ponds in parks, curb cutouts in roads, and permeable pavement installations in facilities. These kinds of projects have been implemented with success across the country, and a few examples are shown here. Another nature-based solution involves building soil health through amendments and minimizing soil disturbance, thus increasing the water holding capacity and encouraging strong, deep roots that are drought resistant and will help prevent mudslides and erosion. Another very effective way to address drought is through the creation and restoration of forests. Nature-based forestry solutions include increasing green canopy that reduce evaporation and provide cooling, and maintaining forests to improve tree health and fire safety, and then using resulting woody biomass or trimmings to produce energy and soil amendments such as compost and biochar. Additional details on many points in this presentation are available in the report and the attachment. Upon recommendation, further programmatic and infrastructure planning could be developed to explore increased water conservation and drought resiliency. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Jasmine, back to you.
Thank you, Supervisor. So we just wanted to kind of, moving forward, we just wanted to share that we've really typically been bringing forward just a drought report, but I think just kind of seeing where the climate is headed as well, we wanted to start pivoting towards also looking at water conservation more holistically, both in our operations and across the county as well. So we wanted to present this menu of options and just get some early guidance from the committee as well.
Thank you. I have some thoughts, but we'll start with Supervisor Simitian.
I'll defer to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, we have no members of the public wanting to speak. Jasmine and Chris, thank you for your presentation and pointing out the request of everyone was 20% a couple of years ago. We had 46%. That's almost cutting in half. That's fabulous. What I've seen personally, and Chris, you hit on it, was the capture of water that otherwise I see running down a street, running down wherever and going to the ocean. And I don't know exactly what you have in mind going forward, how much more the county can do after the 46% reduction that has taken place. I'm sure there is more that can be done as far as landscaping and low flow this and low flow that. But I wonder, Jasmine or directly to Chris, is there anything the county can do at its numerous facilities where our parking lots are enormous and the water flows into storm sewers? Are those things that we can divert, that we can capture, store, put back into the ground?
I will defer to maybe Chris or Naresh to respond to this one. This is more in their area of expertise as well.
Thank you. Hi, Naresh.
I suppose. Yes, we do have the capacity to do an enormous amount of stormwater diversion to the underground structures. In particular, for the Hellier Park, close to, I would say, 20 to 30 acres of 1 acre feet deep aquifers can be built out there. Not only it will divert the stormwater during the heavy rainy season, but also will help to mitigate flood downstream. So there are many parks we have opportunity where we can use these systems besides the parking lots in different facilities, but that will be a long-term solution because renovating a parking lot will take some time unless we are going for a complete renovation of a facility. But definitely we can exercise this kind of opportunity in many of our parklands.
Thank you. And I know during the storms we get on the street I used to live on 6 months ago, the water rushed down like a river. And at the end of the street, it went into a drain, and it said this water flows to the ocean. And I would just love to capture that water to recharge our groundwater system, to maybe divert it to purification plants. I don't know how the county can help out, but Chris and Naresh and Jasneet, if you could just keep that in mind when you see all this asphalt with all this water running to drains, and on the drains it says this water flows to the ocean. I'd love to find a way we can intercept it, maybe work with Valley Water. I don't know how we can get the water to the purification plants somewhere. It's just an idea that it's something I've seen for a long time that bugs me more and more, especially as droughts become more consistent. Thank you. Again, I'm having a hard time speaking because of my nose. All right, that's all I've got. Supervisor Simitian, any other comments?
No, I found the report very helpful, very comprehensive. So I'm good to go.
Thank you. We will.
And if I may just say one thing, that as you're saying that reminds me of the way we used to manage water. Is water was just something that falls and then we get rid of it and put it back in the ocean. But it's really changing the way we think about water. Is now every drop of water that falls on an area the county controls, we should consider how we can, whether it's feasible or not, we should at least look at and explore how can we manage that and control that water. That's our water from now on. We don't make it a little bit each season, and how do we keep it and preserve it, put it in a little Tupperware and store it for later, you know?
Thank you. I agree. I've sat on the Valley Water Advisory Committee for 19 years between Los Gatos and the county. And I hear about the water that flows from here, right past our reservoirs. And I said, well, just put a T on the pipe and divert it into our reservoirs. So I'll leave it up to you. You are the brain power. And if you can do something about that, that would be awesome.
And Supervisor Wasserman, if I can add one more thing, we just got a communication from Valley Water a short while ago. One of the recommendations in there was to look into, some kind of a regional collaborative or a task force to, work on this collectively, not just during a severe drought, but an ongoing basis. And Valley Water did confirm that they're actually looking to pull together a drought response plan task force. And we will likely be invited to participate along with a couple of the other departments as well. So I think there's an opportunity for us to look at this holistically as well with the right partners.
Thank you. And again, I'm talking about all the water that runs right by Lexington. Absolutely. Not that they can put the water in Lexington right now, but you get what I'm saying. We do need a motion, Supervisor Simitian, to direct administration to develop a recommended programmatic and infrastructure plan for water conservation, which they just said they'll do. I'll just make that the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. A roll call, please, Peggy.
Vice Chairperson Simitian.
Aye.
And Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Simitian, we go to our final item, which is item number 9 that was pulled off consent regarding a report from the Office of the County Exec related to the proposed 2022 legislative policies for Hewlett.
Thank you. And I had 2 reasons for asking that this item come off consent, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The first is just the caveat, which I try to offer every year we go through this exercise, which is that the document is lengthy and detailed with respect to its various policy positions. Just want to indicate again for the record, and would ask the minutes to explicitly provide that the support for the policy at large, policies at large, does not mean that I any member of the board is in 100% agreement with each and every one of the policies as presented. There are some where they rise to a high enough level where we'll have a debate at the board level or at the committee level about an individual one, but there are others where we just, as a practical matter, are going to move the whole packet forward, but with some differences of opinion or differences of emphasis on specific items, and I just want to ask the minutes reflect that. The second thing, though, and I'd like to ask staff is, where are we on the issue of the fire safe appeals process, which has proven to be challenging? That may be the understatement of the meeting. And I know that there are some regulation changes in the offing at the state level, and I just wanted to ask staff, have we weighed in at all on those regulations?
I'm going to look to Danielle. Danielle, are you there? Are you available? I don't see Steve.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Supervisor Wasserman. I am. I couldn't get to my mute button in time.
No problem. If you could please respond to Supervisor Simitian's question.
Okay. Supervisor Simitian, it's my understanding that the departments that would be impacted by the fire safe regulations have worked with County Council to provide comments on the regulations that were released. And I see Lizanne Reynolds has raised her hand, and she's actually much more knowledgeable on what's been provided, and I'd like to defer to her.
Thank you. Through the chair, if we could, that would be great.
Yes, Lizanne, please.
And if Ms. Reynolds is speaking, I can't hear her.
Right. No, she's muted.
This is the.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Mic is
okay. Thank you. We did provide the county provided extensive comments in the spring on the proposed draft at that time. Last week, the Board of Forestry came out with a revised set of proposed regulations, which we quickly reviewed and determined that if those regulations were adopted, they would substantially address the issues that we are dealing with most applicants. They would, in Board of Forestry staff's explanation, although the regs aren't perfectly clear on this issue, they would exempt single-family, single-site residential development from the road and access standards. So that it has been the biggest holdup for most of our applicants. The regulations would still apply to subdivisions that would create 3 or more new parcels, and a change in zoning or a change in use permit that would intensify the development on the property. So the Board of Forestry yesterday at their meeting directed staff to put those revised regulations out for a short public comment period in January. However, it appears that they do not want to have those regulations take effect until July 1. So although, and county staff Robert Kane from the planning department attended the meeting and was very supportive of the amended draft regulations. But during the official public comment period, we will reiterate Robert's request that they make the regulations effective much more quickly than July 1. So that's the current status of the regulations now. The board has gotten some pushback from folks saying that they're weakening the regulations, they need to do environmental review. So, but it appears at this point that the board is going to push ahead with those new regulations, which should address most of our concerns. What we will do with applicants between now and July 1 is, we'll have to deal with that, but that's the current status.
Well, you anticipated my next question, which is, we've got folks who are, well, before I go there, Mr. Chairman, I want to ask if we can encourage staff to push folks at the state level for a set of amendments, whatever they turn out to be, before July 1st. Having served at the state level, I am probably less inclined than others to blame the state, chastise the state, wag my finger at the state. But, this really is a case where the state said, we've got a new set of rules and we're going to let the counties sort out the hassle at the local level. And, fair enough. That's, our job as it's been given to us. But we can't do that job without having clarity about what the regulations are. And we've got a group of property owners who are really, in limbo at this point in terms of what their expectations are. And whether we like the rules, don't like the rules, agree or disagree, we certainly can't enforce them until and unless we know what they are. And Ms. Reynolds, I know you know all that better than I because you've been working it. But I just, Mr. Chairman, if you're agreeable, I would like to, I know a full board action, is not possible here at the committee level, but if the two of us could at least provide support to staff to continue to exhort the state to put the new regulations in sooner rather than later, again, whatever they may be, so that people can get on with their jobs, whether it's folks who have properties they're trying to comply on, or whether it's our organization trying to do our job now, implementing this process. I would like to ask that we do that. Can I get an amen from you, Mr. Chairman, on that one? All right, you're muted, but I can lip read the amen. So thank you for that. And then I guess the question I would ask Ms. Anchano and our county counsel's office is, how we doing? Where are we on these appeals? I gather it has been a challenging process from everything I've heard from both the public and the staff. I had made a motion at a prior meeting, essentially saying, if folks couldn't get their appeals handled by the within the process by, I think it was mid-October, that we would let them go to the planning commission. My understanding is we're frankly struggling with that, and now we've got a new set of rules. So, Ms. Anchano, what can you tell us?
So we have, thank you, Supervisor, Chairperson Wasserman, Supervisor Smidian. We have been processing the appeals. I think, quite honestly, Supervisor, some of the outcomes were not what was expected by the public, but we have been consistently processing the appeals as you had directed. The outcomes, as I said again, were not what the public expected. So you'll still hear a dissatisfaction, but we have met the directive that you gave us as far as processing the applications through the appeals.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, and these are my words, not Ms. Anchano's, to be fair. I think we all understand there are going to be people who are disappointed and who won't like the outcome. That goes with the territory. That said, I think the process has been a struggle, and I'm just sitting here empathizing both with members of the public and with the staff who are trying to institute a process that rather clearly is in the process of being changed, as Ms. Reynolds has just indicated. I think it would be helpful, Mr. Chair, if you're amenable to get a report back on the status of these fire safe appeals, including the process, how it has worked to date, how we anticipate it will work in the coming year, what changes we anticipate at the first meeting in January, and setting aside, some real time for that, so it's not a 5, 10, or 15-minute conversation. I think we need at least an hour, forgive me, Mr. Chairman, but to wade through that one and get a take on what's happening out there. Could I make that request of you, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you. And Jacqueline, is that doable in that time frame?
That's going to be tight, but we'll come back with something. I don't know that we'll be able to get everything together for you, but we'll do our best, Supervisor Smidian.
Well, Ms. Anchano, I'll try and meet you halfway on this one, which is to say I'll ask my office to send you 3 or 4 questions or talking points so that you are not trying to guess or even anticipate what the areas of interest and concern are. And we'll get that done in the next couple of weeks here. Again, I think there are some key pinch points, and I just want to make sure we're addressing those.
Okay.
Good. What we have, as we all know, is we've got about a 7-day period between this meeting and next meeting with the holidays where there's reduced office people working. So, but I think Supervisor Smidian's idea, Jacqueline, about sending you 4 or 5 things, and you responding directly to those, that would make for a much more efficient meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Lizanne, you had your hand up but took it down. Are you good?
Yeah, I can just include my comments in the report back.
Okay, thank you. And we have direction that was given, Peggy, by Supervisor Simitian. I'm going to second that direction as a motion. And if you'll please give us a roll call vote.
Vice Chairperson Simitian.
Aye.
And Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye. And that concludes our regular agendized, and we go to adjournment. Jacqueline, we're looking at January 20th as the next UIT meeting.
Okay.
Supervisor Simitian, anything else that you wish?
No, just thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to staff and members of the public.
Thank you all very much. And for the record, we didn't have any members of the public on this item either. Thank you very much. Everybody stay well. A cold is nothing, but stay well otherwise. And I wish you all the very best. Take care. Ho, ho, ho.
Recording stopped.